Now, some rigs you will see an XIT, transmit increment tuning. All right. So RIT is for receive, XIT is for, and it does the same, but it adjusts your transmit frequency, same type of thing with that. So,
As it was explained to me, if you use XIT on the station that you're trying to go back to, and he doesn't seem to be hearing you, going off with the XIT a few cycles will perhaps catch his attention a bit better, actually make the contact.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm looking on my Kenwood 880,
Yes.
and it's the same knob. It says RIT/XIT,
Okay.
but it's the same knob.
Yeah, but there's a button
There
that
should be a button, yeah.
and another
Oh God.
XIT.
Oh God, another button. No, don't tell me that.
Yes.
Okay, all right, I got him. Okay, I get the dummy award for the day. That's fine. Having the 880 and having the 7300 gets a little confusing because they sort of do the same things, kinda.
Al,
Yes, sorry.
isn't it a split knob? Yeah, actually a composite knob.
Depending on the radio, I'd have to have a look at it. I'm not sure. It can
well,
be.
If they're both on the same knob, then there's an outer knob and an inner knob.
Yeah, the inner one is XIT, RIT, and the other one is tone.
Right. Okay.
Whatever tone is, and I'm sure we'll get to that, won't we, Al?
I hope so. God, I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, it changes your receive and your transmit frequency, and that's what does with it. It fine tunes, and of course, the more knobs you've got, the more expensive the radio is, right? It gives you more ideas. But now with these software defined radios, they're cutting down the knobs, so you got no knobs on the thing. You got to push buttons or
You
play
have to
with
go
the
hunting.
touch
You have to
screen.
go
You have to go
hunting for
hunting.
the knob in the menu.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
I'm set. I have a manual.
And then you use the VFO knob to vary the software menu item.
Yeah, yeah, it gets fun. But I'm glad you asked this question, Janice, because these are good. And you know what? A good refresher for everyone, too. So now you'll find an RF power switch, and it's usually a knob that you turn. And this adjusts your power transmitter output, right? Usually on most rigs, it'll go from 0 to 100. So, or 1 watt to 100. And that with it, it's usually there, and you can see it on your meter when you do it. If you've got it cranked all the way up, it should be putting out, if you've got a 100-watt rig, it should be putting out 100 watts, and that with it. So
Janice's case, it may be another menu item that you can vary the power.
yeah, I think if it's similar to my
76.
9700, you have a multi-switch. And you push the multi-switch, and it'll allow you to multi functions in one knob, right? Now, I don't know if this is on here or not, because I think this PowerPoint presentation was made prior to the new software-defined radios that have multi-switches that do that. Then you have an IF shift. This shifts the center of the receiver's pass band. Okay, so if you're in upper or lower, it pronounce an IEFF. It stands for intermediate frequency. And that I haven't really experienced too much with it. I think one of my older rigs had an IF shift on it. Does anybody want to jump in and explain a little bit more on that?
Al could also be called pass band.
Oh, okay. PST, yeah. So pass band tuning, right? Okay.
But the good thing about the old radios, the super hats, if you like, you to have an IF where you had all your crystal filters, your filtering, but you couldn't have it, at all frequencies. So you had one stage, the IF stage, where you really, focused on those kind of controls to notch out something on the side or reduce the bandwidth by using crystal filters on CW, but it was all in the intermediate frequency of the radio. Yeah, you can usually have two knobs, so you can move one up and one down and get rid of something above and below. And on the new digital radios, they don't, it's totally different. The RF goes straight into a chip. There is no IF, but the button that does the same thing is just called a filter. And I guess it's all done by a computer, but it looks the same.
Yeah.
Very useful.
It is, yeah. Well, especially with the older ones too, because I remember some of the first rigs, you didn't have a lot of this, and it was, really hard. Shifting the IF allows you to avoid a signal that is close to yours, but not letting it in the window of the receiver's passband, right? So the pass, as Bob said, the passband tuning, and I'm familiar with that because I used to use it all the time. If you had channels that were very close to you and you were getting this the splatter with it by putting the passband tuning or the IF shift, you could shift it so that you could hear it properly and receive it, especially if you were doing remember years and years ago doing like the transprovincial net on 7055, and you get a CW signal that's coming in. Of course, they're up the band. They don't hear the voice communication. They're just and it would wipe out some of the voice transmissions with it.
You have single sideband stations that also don't seem to pay attention to the bandwidth of the transmitted signal.
That's true too.
Some of them are well over the 2.2.
I've been robbed. I don't have a button or a knob that says IF anything or pass or no, I don't have anything like that.
You don't have a
PBT? PBT?
PBT?
I'm not seeing it. There's a hell of a lot of buttons on here, but I am not seeing anything like that. No. On the 88, on the 850, I mean.
Oh,
TS 850.
7300 might have it on the right-hand side.
That's, yeah. There's I saw it here somewhere. Too many buttons. I know it's here. I thought I saw
I'm
it.
sure it's there someplace.
Anyway.
Unless they've got it called something else, but.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I can look it up in the manual, see what I can find for the Kenwood and see if it says, I'm sure there must be something in there. Unless you guys are making all this up.
We are.
Let's have fun with the doll girl today.
Just in case you thought this was the presentation was over, Al's got another control.
Yeah, we're going to do a notch here. Okay, like a notch in your belt.
All right, notch me, baby. I'm listening.
So this is another good filter for reducing nearby interference, and with it, unlike I have a phone call for Judy there, so I'll just let her answer it. Unlike a window, it acts like a cover and blocks the signal. Oh, stand by, everyone. I've got a quick phone call.
Here's the notch there.
Oh, it's funny that, I mean, you go through all this nonsense and you get your license and everything is just fine and dandy. And then you get the radio and go, what the hell is all this stuff?
Totally different ballgame.
They don't teach you that in the basic anyway. They don't teach you how to actually operate a radio. It's here's all the reasons why all the pixies flying around in your machine makes the voice come out. But
that's what your instruction manual's for.
Yeah, but
you read an instruction manual?
Read it about 3 times and then turn your radio on.
Oh
most of the radios now, you get an instruction manual and you can't find what you're looking for, and then you discover there's a downloadable advanced instruction manual, which is 4 times the size of the one they give you with the radio.
I got one of those, yes, with Yesu.
That's when you go to the YouTube videos specific subject that you're trying.
Here's
There are
the
some really good tutorials. So I went through one particular tutorial for the whatever the number is, the 7300, and it was really good because he did take it through step by step, not in as much detail as you guys, but at least it gives you a general idea of what the heck all this stuff is.
Get your manual.
Yeah.
Get your manual out and read what it says, and what you don't understand, put a little question mark off the side of the page. And as you go down, you will find, as you learn your radio, you will find that, well, son of a gun, now I know what that is. And
There you go.
But I'll tell you, Janice, you haven't had the experience of your first field day live sitting in front of the radio.
Strange radio.
Yeah, and that's the learning experience. I still remember that from my teenage days. You know, a KWM2 Collins transceiver, a Cadillac of radios.
There was nothing about the mosquitoes. I forgot that item.
Don't even remember the mosquitoes, just the radio and the signals coming through the speakers.
Okay,
Hi, Maureen. How are you?
not too bad.
I hope you're feeling better.
Okay, Ben. My voice has gone to somewhere.
It's Taylor.
Taylor,
Yeah.
I've been down for darn near a month.
Yeah, it's good to see you back on, Maureen.
Wow.
Yeah, no
Well,
kidding.
We'll do a bit here and there. Thanks.
So that means I can phone you anytime I need help and have a problem, right? Anytime at all.
Oh, except for 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm snoring.
It's the best time.
Well, or after dinner when I'm snoring.
I think, Janice, what you find is with the radio, 99% of the time you won't use any of those features. And it's only when you get a station that you really want to work and there's a guy right next to you, or some situation that makes you say, well, now I want to work this guy and it's difficult. And then I wish I had a way of doing this, and then you discover you have in the radio. But most of the time you almost don't.
Just
don't use all
we
those
started
features.
using the attenuator control on meters or 80 meters for stations that just seem to come booming in. I just make sure I turn off the preamps totally, and then even then I push the preamp in further and get my attenuation control as well, because the signal is just too strong. It's overpowering the radio.
On the 7610, the RF gain, is a squelch the other way. It's kind of interesting. It's all in one knob.
Yeah, and you can do that in the 7300, I think, in the menu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having a waterfall is, I've never had a waterfall. I only just got a radio that had that on it, and that really shows you visually
Mhm.
what's happening with your gain. You can
Have you put a towel underneath the radio yet?
a towel.
Yeah, to catch the extra water as it splashes down.
No, I got the newer model. It just evaporates. You have to keep filling it though through the little grills on the top.
Sorry, I was a bit slow there, Bob.
I love it.
Well, I've picked up a fair bit of stuff over the last year playing with this stuff. So
Once
the
you
only thing
get
I'd like is a redneck blocker, because I've heard some things from the southern states that I really don't want to hear at all. Oh my God. It's pretty frightening. Bob and his cousin and his wife bride and
Janice,
Mhm.
one of the most important things on your radio is what they call the SWR, and it is actually voltage to standing wave radio
Mhm.
ratio. And why do you want to get that as low as possible? You get too much voltage on your antenna, you'll burn off your antenna.
Mhm.
Also, which it's very, very hard on the radio itself, attempting to put the power out into a high but it is actually voltage to standing wave ratio. So what you want is get the greatest amount out your antenna.
Bob came over and I had the club SWR meter here, and we actually went through all the different antennas and radios and whatnot. And
yeah,
the numbers were all below 2. Most of them were 1.5, maybe at the most. I mean, it was pretty impressive. The numbers were good. So maybe it was an accident. I don't know, but yeah, we went through them all.
And you might find yourself having to do that every year or every other year, depending on the performance. You will notice it from your SWR readings whether they seem to be generally rising. After a winter's wear and tear on your antenna system, you have to get out there and do a quick check, make sure some of your tape wrappings haven't come off, damage to the antennas.
Well, it's been good having this SWR meter for the VH I can't even say it anymore. For the VHF side is good because there's been a couple of times when I've had antenna wires go bad and start to short, and the only way I knew about it was looking at the SWR meter, and so it wasn't normal.
That's right.
And it was like, okay, time to check things out. So yeah, it's a good thing to have for sure. Keep an eye on.
Fortunately, with these new radios, they are very self-protecting in most cases. You haven't switched your antenna switches correctly, and an antenna there, the radio says, "Hey, I'm not doing this," and shuts its power down. It will not transmit.
Well, they're amazing technology, that's for sure. It's just incredible.
Anything greater than a 3 SWR of about 3 to 1 is getting into dangerous ground. So that's you said that yours already. I do believe I understood you to say that the different tests you did, it was always between a 1 and a 2. That's an extremely well matched antenna. There's no such thing as an absolute match, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, well, they came across, we double checked them and everything looked really good. So I think I just lucked out basically. Your
antenna's in pretty good shape.
Watched a video yesterday. A fellow had an MFJ antenna. I think it was only a 300 watt antenna end fed. And he was using it as an inverted V. And he had a very 30 or 40 foot, one of these fiberglass poles that you stretch up and make the center point of the antenna up nice and high. And he showed on a 705 the SWR from band to band to band, all the way across without a tuner running.
Oh, wow.
Able to get it basically flat everywhere.
Oh,
until he turned around and he said, I'm going to drop one side of the antenna and bring it down the mast and use it that way. And then he had SWR all over the place. It was getting pretty high up on the 10 meter band as well. It was a very good demonstration. I liked it very much.
Okay, sorry, people, keep you in the bay there. Phone call that was from the community services officer there, Jason Tremblay, who does the ARIES across the country there. They're having a simulated emergency test in southern Ontario today, and he just called for some advice there. So sorry about that. I'm sorry, you're fading completely out. You're breaking up. Is anybody noticing that on Bob's signal too?
Yeah, he's not his usual strong self.
Well, I just switched back to system audio settings, and I was on a Realtek high definition audio, and I just switched it back there.
As long as nobody else talks when you talk, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because as soon as somebody else talks or noise comes in, it cuts you right out.
I might have some audio compensation tucked in there, and I didn't think I had.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in a wind tunnel too when you transmit. So I don't know. Weird, weird conditions, but
Al, have you ever found the monitor switch on your 7610?
the monitor switch. Yes, I read about that. I haven't played with it too much. Why? Go ahead.
Well, I haven't been able to find that on my 7610.
Oh,
I want to
okay.
listen to my own audio.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what the
On
monitor
my
button
headphones,
lets you does. Lets you do.
radios
It
I've
lets
had
you-
up until now have had a monitor switch.
Yes,
If
it's
you're
an
using
internal. It's an internal setting. I remember reading because I went through the manual completely, but it's
I haven't
internal.
found it yet.
Yeah, it's in one of the menu. I think you
Okay.
got to go to set,
I
and
thought
then
you
it's
could,
under one
say-
of those, and then it's under that and under that. It's yeah. If one thing about these software-defined radios, they're beautiful, but it's like a pyramid. You got to go into this, and then go into that, and then go into that, and it's pretty.
Ah,
It's like looking for a file under Windows. Is exactly what it's like. You gotta. It's like if anybody ever tried to find that host file, you know, you got to go into Windows, you got to go into System 32, you got to go into drivers, you got to go into etc., and then you got to go into host files to
Oh,
change your.
I just go to the search.
actually, I found it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would
I
be
read the
nice.
manual.
Everything Search is a dandy piece of software. It's called Everything Search, and it's a big orange magnifying glass on your computer. Download that software, and it's much faster than the built-in search that's in Windows. And it would be really nice if you could put one of those on your radio, so you could search for menu settings or whatever.
Did you guys talk about Notch or
Nope,
no? Okay.
we left that to you.
Wonderful. So you're going to find on your radio,
Yep.
chances are you're going to have a notch, and it's going to have a little right at the 0 setting. It'll probably have a thing where you can feel it. If it's like a variable power supply, if anybody has a variable power supply, usually you'll feel the thing at 13.8 volts. It kind of locks in there. Well, at least on my ICOM radio, this is the notch filter is 0, and you can go up or down from the notch. And it's a good filter for reducing nearby interference. So what it does is it shifts the frequencies up and down. Unlike a window, it acts like a cover and blocks the signal that is in your window. So what it'll do is if you've got a strong signal adjacent, you can shift it with the notch, and it kind of just brings in the signal. It notches it right out. So it's pretty neat thing. And you know, I'm thinking about with the notch filter that we use on the duplexers with the repeaters, right? We have a band pass and a notch filter, which notches out outside signals coming in. So the CBC, right? We've got RMI's repeater on 147.27, but on 97.5 megahertz, which is just down the band from it, we got 10,000 watts blaring out on that signal. And we don't want, when you key up RMI, you don't want to hear, well, the news at 10 o'clock is, you don't want to hear the CBC coming through it. So what a notch filter does, any adjacent big, strong signals, it notches it out. All right. Somebody's waving. Got to go, Eugene?
Yeah.
Or what? Okay. Thank you for coming aboard. Have a good weekend. All the best. So it blocks it out. Oops. Okay. Where are we going here? All right.
I was going to say my 746 Pro has an automatic notch or a variable notch, depending on how long I hold the button in.
Auto notch is good for carriers.
Okay. anyway, the next section, we can leave this for another day. Goes on and talks about antennas. This is what this was last year's setup at what Igor put up at McLean's Mountain. They took
All by himself? I hope
And it all
And
fit
have-
in his car.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
It
and
all
that's his
fit in
car.
car.
Yeah, right in the middle there. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, so that's a bit about the knobs and the tuning that I could find on radios. I know you probably have a million more there, Janice, but that starts things anyway to get a bit of understanding. But the ideal thing is that when we can open up and everybody can get together again, is come out for a field day weekend and get to play, because that is the
Every
best
so
way.
often, I just get the manual out and I put everything back to factory standard,
Right,
which is at least it's one common starting point, right?
absolutely.
That works. It just undoes all the screw ups I do.